Welcome to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonatti alongside Ethan Euchre. Measles is one of the most contagious viruses in the world and is currently spreading around the United States. And West Texas happens to be experiencing the largest outbreak. Here to discuss how concerned we should be is Dr. Matt Chalmers, biochemical expert and best-selling author of Pillars of Wellness. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Certainly. So first off, can you explain what causes measles and how it spreads?
So measles is caused by a virus, just like a cold or anything like that. And then it's very, very contagious. You can actually catch it from someone who doesn't even have symptoms yet. And so that's one of the reasons why it's so contagious is you might not know you're sick and give it to other people.
Ooh.
Now, I know when we were discussing this a little bit before we went on, I've been hearing about measles, this outbreak for the past couple of months, I want to say, if not longer than that. And initially, I thought to myself, measles? I mean, that's a childhood disease.
Right.
And most of us have been vaccinated against it. Like, why am I concerned about this? Then as the weeks have gone by and months have gone by, it's making more and more headlines. As Kimberly just said, big outbreak in West Texas. Why the resurgence of measles? Because all of a sudden it got my attention and I thought, well, we got to be talking about this on the show.
Well, so one of the big things I want everybody to understand when they hear outbreak, they think big numbers. According to the CDC, if 3 people have measles, it's an outbreak.
Wow.
So just let's get our numbers in alignment here. One of the reasons that I think that this is becoming bigger and bigger news is because RFK is starting to ask questions about the science of vaccines in general, and so people are trying to really discuss these things more and more and bring it to to the forefront of people's minds.
So let me guess, there were 4 people, and that made it, the largest outbreak ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a giant outbreak. There's not thousands and thousands of people with it. It's a very, very small number.
And one of them we were hearing at least had it was a measles death, but it was an infant, I guess, that was given an active vaccine while they had measles, which I think is something that should never have happened in the first place.
Well, we're getting conflicting reports, but what I'm hearing is that the child had RSV and had pneumonia, and while they were in, the doctors vaccinated the child for measles, and then the child died. And what ends up happening is that when you inject a live virus measles and then you test for measles after the vaccine, you're gonna find measles in their system. So whether the child had measles when they came in or not, it's being reported as a measles death.
That's crazy.
What specifically are the symptoms? I mean, again, I haven't heard about this disease really since I was a kid, and I think of measles. Isn't it almost like don't they get spots all over their body and things like that?
Yeah, it's similar to the chicken pox. You're going to get spots all over the body. You're going to be itching. You're going to feel fatigue and kind of like you have a cold and you have a rash. So as far as general population, that's about all you really need to kind of recognize on it.
And if you start to show symptoms, I mean, should you immediately be tested? Should you take a vaccine? Are there other ways to treat the symptoms to get over measles? Or because, as Kimberly said, it's one of the most contagious viruses in the world. But what's the mortality rate, and how concerned should you be if you start to experience symptoms?
Well, so the mortality rate's really low. The CDC shows it's 3 in 1,000 people, but they don't die of the measles. They die of dehydration. 2/3 of the people die from dehydration. So as long as you can get an IV, drink some water, get a colonic irrigation, you're going to be fine. As far as if you notice that you have it, don't go outside. Don't be around other people. And then if you've been around people 2 or 3 days beforehand, call them and tell them, hey, I just came down with the measles. Stay at home, kind of check yourself out for a day or two and see kind of how it goes. It's not, I don't want people to get all super scared. I know that people tell you, if you get the measles, you're going to die. That is not the case at all. So it's not as scary as people are making it out to be. It's just going to be a couple of days of irritation.
Now, do you think what they're calling this influx has to do with these anti-vaxxers?
I wouldn't say it has anything to do with anti-vaxxers. If there's any reason that we have an increased amount of measles or any communicable diseases, it would be probably from the illegal migrants that have come across the border. These hundreds of thousands of people who've come in, they brought all their diseases with them. So if there's anything, I would not say it's the anti-vaxxers. most of your people who are not taking vaccines are very health conscious. They're keeping themselves clean, the supplementation, their diets are good.
Right.
Usually what we're going to see is we're going to see this disease brought in by people who are coming from third world countries.
Which makes sense that there's a huge outbreak in West Texas, right? right there on the border.
That would make the most sense.
How would you even combat that, though? I mean, obviously, since President Trump returned to office, we've seen the border crossings just completely drop, from like 150,000 a month down to a trickle. So, how are we supposed to monitor and vet these people that are coming through that are possibly carrying these communicable diseases that threaten society of Americans?
If these people come over legally, or they come by and we can stop them and check them at some of our medical checkpoints or anything, that would be very, very beneficial. Which is, again, one of the major reasons why we want immigration to happen, but we want it to happen in a controlled manner so we can make sure, are you bringing disease with you? If you're not, great, come on in. If you are, let's stop that and not let you bring the disease in.
All right. And for those who have had the vaccine, do they need to be boosted?
Yeah, the idea of the vaccine is that you carry lifelong immunity with it, that's one of the things that I hope RFK is going to look into. One of the things we do know is if you ever had measles, which a lot of people have had the measles, you do carry lifelong immunity from that. So if you've had the measles, good job, you're safe.
What are your, not to bring you into politics, but, we tend to get political on this program. What are your thoughts on RFK Jr. Heading up the HHS? Is it a good thing? Because, I mean, the mainstream media, and this is, of course, somebody who is a lifelong Democrat and then became an independent. And so it's interesting to watch how he is covered by the mainstream media. Now he's the enemy because he's basically part of Team Trump. How do you think he's going to perform in this new role?
Well, I have zero doubt that RFK is going to bring a lot of good change. The thing that we really need to look at about especially all of our medications, especially vaccines, is we've let vaccines become a religion. You're not allowed to question them. You're not allowed to apply science. Science is asking questions, and we're not allowed to apply science to our vaccines. This is how we got the COVID vaccine. And if you can look at the massive amount of damage that the COVID vaccine has caused to our health and to our population, we need to start asking more questions about everything.
But I thought it was supposed to be follow the science.
Right.
Strange.
It's not working out that way. Yeah. Do you foresee an outbreak of other childhood diseases like whooping cough or mumps? Or I'm being facetious, but seriously, I mean, could we see a return of some of these diseases that we were all inoculated against as children?
The thing that worries me is that not necessarily we would see a resurgence in actual numbers, but we'd see a giant influx of the news media covering it. So like, for instance, if you look at the plane crashes, we're actually down this year for plane crashes, but that's all everybody's talking about. And so people think that there's a lot more than normal. So again, like these outbreaks, if there's 10 people with measles, it's a giant outbreak of measles. So I'm a little bit worried about how the news media is going to trump this up, trying to scare everybody into stop asking questions about the medications that we're taking, we're giving our kids.
So a little off topic, we have been discussing this whole idea of the Girl Scout cookies and how they're finding all the toxins, these glyphosates that are in 100% of these Girl Scout cookies. Here you think you're doing something good, supporting these little kids, and now we're making ourselves ill. Any thoughts?
Potentially, yeah.
There's a giant amount of foods that we need to cut back on. As someone who works closely with dementia and diabetes, the vast majority of the things we're putting in our body create these diseases. And so if we start recognizing these are toxins that are in our food, another thing RFK is looking to do, if we can start recognizing these toxins that are in our food and then restrict those foods from us, we're going to be substantially healthier. People go on diets. People tell me all the time, like, I went on carnivore and I felt so much better. And I'm like, well, yeah, meat's good for you, but you also radically reduce the amount of toxins you're putting in your body. So that's one of the reasons you feel so much better, is because you're just not poisoning yourself anymore.
And anything that they should be taking supplement-wise that helps kind of clean out those toxins?
Yeah. So one of the big things I always try to get people to do is really increase liver food. So, your turmerics, your milk thistles, your methylated B6, getting methylated B vitamins up is a really, really big deal. Anything that's going to help clear the body of parasites is another big one. One of the parasitologists I work with, had stated that, I don't know if this is exactly true or a little bit overboard, but he said 100% of the people who have animals in their homes have parasites in their bodies. So
Wonderful.
which is every single person we've tested who has animals has parasites, and that'll radically pull down your body's ability to, it'll decrease your immune system pretty substantially.
Oh, who knew?
I have 6 pets at home, all because of my wife. So we're gonna have a chat when I get home.
Well, at least we
Just
all know
saying.
now. Thank you so much, Dr. Matt Chalmers, for being on the program.
Thanks, Doc.
Absolutely, anytime.
Take great care.